There's a difference between a man who is remorseful and a man who's just regretful. Big difference, by the way. And when you don't know that difference, you end up being the one left with the regrets. Because I'm going to keep it real with y'all. There's a lot of conversation about how you just need to leave your ex or leave that guy that you no longer talk to and never look back. But we all know the reality. Sometimes you got an attachment that's deep. Sometimes you got feelings that don't leave so easily. Sometimes you got kids involved. Sometimes it's a marriage. It could be all of these different things where you say, you know what, I'm really considering though. I'm not really sure. And I've had women come to me and say, D, well, you know, how do I know? Matter of fact, there was one after my last webinar, how to stop being a man's internship. Y'all know I do the free webinars every now and then. Actually, that one's still up, but it's coming down soon. If you haven't yet, click the link down in the comments. But, you know, when we did our Q&A, she said, how do I know when a man is truly remorseful? You know what I'm saying? She was one of the few that was being real enough to say she was actually considering giving a man another chance after he fumbled her. And I told her the exact same thing I just told y'all. There's a difference between a man who's remorseful and a man who's regretful. When a man is remorseful, there's a common denominator between both, and that's the feeling. That's the, I feel bad. Man, I messed up. That's the feeling. Unfortunately, that's where a lot of y'all stop. And y'all say, oh, I see enough evidence that he feels bad. He losing weight. He crying all over the place. He's singing sad songs. He calling my mom and my friends, and he moping around on social media, and he can't eat the same, and he don't want to go to work right now, and da-da-da-da-da. All the stuff we hear about in Anthony Hamilton love songs, that's what he's doing. And a lot of y'all say, oh, well, that must mean that he's truly remorseful. When a man is remorseful, there's a few other things that you're going to see. And one of those things is he's going to direct attention to himself. He's going to give you space, and he's going to direct attention to himself. He's going to want to audit himself. Because whenever you're truly remorseful, you understand that person wasn't the problem. And even though it'll feel good to have that person back, your biggest priority is not repeating the same issues all over again. And you're not so prideful and arrogant or egotistical or ignorant to think that you've got it all figured out now that you feel bad. Because that feeling is going to go away. So one way where you can characterize if a man is remorseful or not is if he's willing to give you space. I know that sounds crazy because it's counterintuitive. If he's really sorry, if he really wants another chance, shouldn't he be trying to apply pressure? And yeah, he should on himself. He should be trying to apply pressure on the real problem. And you see, some of y'all, you don't necessarily get blamed overtly by a man who messed up. Sometimes a man will be, oh, you the reason why I did this. But sometimes y'all get blamed by a man really trying to close the gap too soon. If he looks anywhere other than himself, he's then accrediting the issue at hand to be whatever it is he's actually looking at in order to fix the problem. If I just had this out of you, and maybe if I show up better, then that'll make you show up better, and then I won't do what I did on a subconscious level. But if you ever have a man and he's just sitting there like he just got to have you back, that man is more likely regretful. What is regret? Regret is when a man just feels stupid. It's not just the pain of I messed up, because everybody's going to feel that, but he feels stupid and he wants to feel less stupid. And what's on his mind is feeling less stupid as opposed to making you feel more safe. As opposed to safeguarding your heart, a man who's simply regretful says, dang. It's just like, okay, let's think about it like this. It's like somebody who has a job and they don't go to work on time, and so they get fired. And now their bills is due and they can't pay their bills. But the reason why they didn't go to work is because, you know, it was free before 11 the night before, and they just didn't go to sleep on time. They got drunk, or there was a trip to Tulum the next day and they didn't want to miss it. So they was doing exactly what they wanted to do, and now that they facing the consequences and they can't escape those consequences, they're with regret. Oh man, I messed up. It don't mean nothing changed. It don't mean that they became more honest or reliable. They're just feeling stupid, as they should. And when a man is regretful for the same reasons in the same way, let him sit with those regrets. Let him feel stupid. Otherwise, you're going to feel stupid letting him back in. He feels bad, but immediately his whole attention goes to come back. He ain't even thinking about the real issue at hand. And sometimes that's because he also was filling a void with you to begin with. When a man is filling a void with you, ain't no way he's gonna show up the way he needs to, because he's not operating from a place of love. He's operating from a place of survival. And because you were never made to feel any type of void in a man's life, you were made to reap the overflow of that man and then reciprocate the overflow from yourself, not go in here to somebody who came in with a deficit and try to fill it so they can feel whole for a little while the honeymoon phase lasts. Eventually, you're going to fail at a job you never were supposed to be playing anyway. You never were supposed to be doing anyway. And then whenever you fail, he fails you. And so he fails you and then feels stupid because he found with a good woman, but he's still not whole enough to handle you even if you gave him another chance. Again, that's when a man has regrets. Now, another thing that a man is going to do whenever he's remorseful, he's not only going to make that verbal commitment, hey, I'm sorry, or whatever, I'm going to do better. He's not only going to take that time to look at himself, he's also going to want to be accountable to whatever it means for you to identify that he's done the work on himself. However much time it takes, whatever measures he has to go to, that's a man who's truly remorseful. Now, I need to put this as a side note. Just because a man is remorseful does not mean he deserves a second chance. It does not mean you owe him access to you. When it comes to relationships, you get to make the rules on what it means for you to be safe. So even if a man is truly remorseful, it could just be a consequence that he lost you and he lost you for good, period. He can go be great in somebody else's knight in white shining armor, but that door is closed. Absolutely, you're not wrong. Don't feel guilty if that's you. But if you're considering giving that man another chance and you're thinking, okay, is he remorseful? Look at what he's willing to be accountable to do in order to prove himself. I'm not saying a man should go out here and be willing to humiliate himself, make himself a clown or anything like that. Because even if he's done wrong, he still should have some level of dignity. That's the only way he's going to be able to move better as a higher version of himself. But if you get a man that's sitting there trying to set the parameters on what he ain't, oh, no, that's too much. You should just trust me. If we ain't got trust, what we got? Man, you broke the trust. That's why y'all ain't got no trust. Of course y'all ain't got no trust right now. You got to do what you got to do to rebuild the trust. Put I down in the chat if you've ever been fumbled by a man, hurt by a man, and then for him to get back in with you, he tried to dictate the terms. Put I down in the chat if anybody ever seen something like that. I've seen it a million times. When that man come in and he trying to sit there, again, the ego, the ignorance, the arrogance is still there, and it lets you know, no, he just feeling regret. He feels stupid. He wants to close the gap. He wants access back to me. He wants to feel good again, but he's not willing to actually make things right. And that feeling is going to be fleeting. That feeling is a setup for failure, which lets you know he's feelings based anyway. A lot of y'all are dealing with these guys, and I get it. It's kind of a double-edged sword. It's great to have a man who's in touch with his feelings, but if he's dominated by his feelings, you're setting yourself up for failure. If that man treats you right because he feels good, if that man is romantic because he feels good, if that man is kind and compassionate and nice and a great listener, but only when he feels good, you're setting yourself up for failure because a part of life is at some point not feeling so good. When you get with a man who's dominated by his feelings, you're getting with a man who cannot create space and hold space for the lesser version of you, for the version of you that's still improving, the version of you that still needs grace, the version of you that ain't always on and 100%. And in that regard, that's not even a relationship that you're in anymore. That's strictly servitude. You're there so long as you serve him and make him feel good and you're comfortable. And the moment that you don't, you can expect him to hurt you. You can expect him to break you because he's feelings dominated. The opposite of that is a man who is purpose driven. He's treating you right because according to his purpose, that's what he's accountable to. And that's the only way that he can be walking in alignment with what it is that's truly important to him, who he's really accountable to. Ain't got nothing to do with his feelings. And you see, even these men make mistakes. Like everybody makes mistakes, first off. If you're a person that has grown, you can't say you've grown without that have been preceded with some type of mistakes that you made and you need to get better with. But see, if you're purpose driven, it's not about only whenever you feel good. As you learn, as you know better, you do better. You show up better. You take your consequences to the face and you welcome the opportunity to really work on the version of you that would do something like that so you can show up as a better version of you and never do it again. That's true remorse. Regret is, I just want the feelings to go away. I just want the humiliation, the embarrassment of fumbling this woman to go away. I just want the insecurity of knowing she's going to get loved by a better man or somebody who at least can show up better than I did. I just want that fear to go away. I just want her to keep access closed off to everybody else by letting me come in and take up space. That's it. That's all regret is. And whenever you give a man another chance who's just regretful about messing things up, you're the one left with regrets. And I've seen so many of y'all do this because you can empathize with messing up and then feeling bad. But again, you got to qualify deeper than that, or else he's going to waste the most valuable years of your life. And all he's going to do is use you as a stepping stool. All he's going to do is use you, all that time that you invested into him, for him to get out of his system all the negative things that he wanted to do in his youth, just so he can go to another woman when he's truly ready to settle down and show up the right way. All you're gonna end up doing is preparing that man for somebody else, or at least preparing a better version of him for somebody else. I call that being a man's internship. And I'm not gonna go too far in depth on that because I went in depth on my free masterclass recently, how to stop being a man's internship so you can finally receive your blessing. If you have not gotten access to that, do yourself a favor, click the link that you see pinned down in the comments or in the caption whenever you back out and get access now before it comes down. Hurry up and register so that way, just in case it's gone by the time we get off of this, you already have your spot reserved. But back to what I was saying, there is a difference for those of y'all who are real enough to admit, even after, maybe it's a guy that you were just talking to, just dating, even after things fall out, you still might have some residual thoughts about whether or not you can make that work again with a different approach or something like that. Understand there's a difference between a man who's regretful versus a man remorseful. A man who's remorseful said, I messed up. I want to be better. A man who's regretful said, I messed up, but I just want to feel better. Even if it's at the expense of her well-being. Even if it cost her years and years of her life to realize I'm never going to actually change. I'm just going to do good enough to get back in and then waste her time all over again. And once again, I got to say this. If you take a man back over and over again and all he had was regrets that he needed you to soothe by letting him come back in again and waste your time again, you're going to be the one left with those regrets. You're going to be the one left with those regrets. But those are just my thoughts. I'm your internet brother trying to look out for you. And if you got something from this, I don't want your money. Put your money away. But I do want you to pay this forward to somebody else in your timeline by hitting that share button. Bless them the same way you got blessed. Okay, one of your friends or family, something like that, hit that share button if you got something of value from this whatsoever. And if you want to make sure you never become a man's internship ever again to prepare him for another woman, click the link that you see pinned down in the comments, also in the caption whenever you back out, and get access to my free masterclass, because almost an hour I went in on strategies you can use to make sure you're never the woman that prepares a man for another woman, but rather you're the woman that a man must come prepared for. All right, y'all be good.